MSNBC contributor Perry Bacon, also political editor for The Griot, former Ohio Governor Ted Strickland, and Susan Ferrechio, chief congressional correspondent for The Washington Examiner. It's great to have you all here, and I know you were listening there to Congressman Clyburn. So, Governor, I want to start with you and talk about our NBC First Street team and what they put out today, saying that with the clock is ticking down on this, the GOP is going off the image cliff with their branding. 65% offering negative views of the party right now in the new NBC News Wall Street Journal poll, including half of Republicans giving the words negative and uncompromising as their gut reactions. So while the president's approval is way up, the public craving for a deal, Governor, is very strong. The appetite is strong. So does the president risk not displaying a better, sensible center compromise here to reach victory?
Well, my perception is the president is being very fair. He wants a balanced approach. He's willing to work with these guys. I think he's demonstrated that. But he won the election, and he won the election with the people knowing that he wanted to raise the tax rates on the upper 2% while protecting working class folks. I mean, the people have spoken on this issue, and I think once we resolve this, once the Republicans are willing to accept this tax rate on the upper 2%, these other issues can be resolved. But this is a critical part of the negotiations, and I think the president's being candid and upfront and honest with the American people as well as with the Republican leadership.
Susan, one person who's loving the fact that John Boehner is sticking to his guns on this is Grover Norquist, the anti-tax pledge guru, and this was him on C-SPAN earlier. Take a listen. Oh, we don't have that soundbite. Excuse me. But basically, he's talking about the fact that he likes that he is sticking to his guns. Then David Axelrod from the Obama side of things fired back, saying that he is an egomaniacal martinet about sticking to his guns here. So we've got those two firing off at each other. But as we get closer to this edge, are Republicans maybe psyched at thinking that if they do go over the edge, that they can get away from the specter of Grover Norquist, the shadow of his anti-tax pledge, and that there will be a clean slate come 2013?
Well, it depends what you mean by a clean slate. I don't think Republicans will ever move away from the concept of lower taxes, reduced government, reduced spending. In fact, there's another poll out today that talks about people really supporting the idea of making cuts, not just raising taxes, but making real cuts to reduce spending. So I think the public wants cuts. The public wants the government to stop out-of-control spending, even though they also agree that taxes should go up. And Republicans have said that they would put tax money on the table. So there's a lot more agreement out there than is being really, people are being given credit for. And Republicans have said, we'll do tax revenue as long as we have some big cuts. So getting away from Grover Norquist, he's one man. The whole concept of reduced taxes and low taxes is something I don't think we're ever going to see the Republican Party move away from.
Perry, twice as many Americans in this new poll trust the president more in the handling of the fiscal cliff negotiations, and a majority say he has this clear mandate from the November election, 65% on reducing the deficit by both increasing taxes on the wealthy and reducing federal spending. So even if both sides get some blame, don't Republicans still get more of the hurt out of this one?
Both sides will get if we go over the cliff next month, both sides will be hurt. That said, the president and the polls show the president has a mandate. Most voters do support raising taxes on the wealthy. So the president's got the upper hand here, but it'll damage both parties. Other thing in that poll is interesting to see is that most Republicans support compromise. That was not the case last year in the debt ceiling. But 59% of Republicans in that poll say let's reach a deal. So at this point, I'm not sure why the Republican Party in Washington is not moving toward where the voters of their own party are.
Governor, we always hear the age-old adage, trust but verify. Are we just watching the trenches of distrust just getting deeper within Washington, D.C. as these negotiations continue to kind of sputter along? And can the two sides actually bridge to compromise on this so that they can move Washington, D.C. forward, or does this type of negotiation just exacerbate the chasm?
Well, Thomas, I think if John Boehner and the president were to sit down, they could reach an agreement. But the question is, can John Boehner take any agreement to his caucus and be assured that they're going to support it? And the president can't make commitments until he has some assurance that whatever Speaker Boehner negotiates with him is something that he can accomplish with his caucus. And we don't seem to be there because, the real issue here I don't think is between John Boehner and President Obama. I think the real issue is between John Boehner and the fragmented caucus that he's trying to lead. And I feel sorry for John Boehner in so many ways. He is literally between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, he's pretty cornered on
he's got to resolve it. As Representative Pelosi said, as Speaker, he's got a responsibility to provide leadership and to resolve this within his own caucus.
And while this has been going on for weeks now, we've been talking about this. The American appetite, as I said, it is growing to get something done, and Americans are paying attention. According to our new NBC Wall Street Journal poll finding, 53% are optimistic and satisfied that Obama was reelected. 47% describe themselves as uncertain or pessimistic. That optimistic number, Perry, is up from October. So how much do you think that the recent PR campaign by the White House plays into that lift?
I don't think it really does that much. I think the key thing is the president just won re-election, pretty overwhelmingly, and that's driving the support for his numbers. What we have to watch these next few days is ultimately something like 70 or 80 Republicans have to sign a tax increase in order for us to get past this cliff. With President Obama's idea of raising taxes, that's the big challenge here. We've only seen like 10 or 12 Republicans in Congress say, "I'm willing to raise taxes," and until that number gets higher, I'm not sure this is going to be a long process. That's the big hurdle right now.
Susan, what about the president's leverage? Do you think that he continues in the position that he's in to carry the leverage that he needs to get this deal done as the time clicks out?
Clearly he's got leverage, but his leverage is only going to go so far. And I know just from talking to folks up on Capitol Hill that there is a real willingness on the part of Republicans in the House, more than a dozen, I'm talking a majority, who would raise tax revenue. They're willing to do it. But they're willing to go outside their comfort zone and do that, but only if they see Democrats step forward on the cut side. And we haven't seen that yet. And even the most moderate of Republican, even the ones who are retiring, say they're not willing to go for any kind of tax revenue until they see bigger cuts. So this whole argument that it's Republicans versus Republicans, I think that's a phony argument. I think the real problem right now is Democrats, and it's kind of on them right now, whether they're going to put more cuts forward. That's what's going to get the ball rolling on this.
Governor, I think I heard you laughing there.
Well, the Republicans want to raise the retirement age for qualifying for Medicare. And, it's easy for these folks to sit around in ivory towers and air-conditioned offices. But my brothers are cement masons. They get down on their knees and finish concrete in the boiling sun. You can't do that when you're 67 years of age. I think we need to get real here and not simply look to the working people to help solve this problem, when I think the wealthy, the rich, the successful folks who have achieved great wealth at this point aren't contributing their fair share to solving our fiscal problems.
My power panel for this Thursday. Thank you so much for joining me. I just want to pass along to everybody, we are watching the live event coming to us out of